Hey guys, it's just me again. I just thought I'd come out here and shoot a quick video and talk a little bit about what's going on in Ottawa the last couple of weeks involving your wonderful Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau. Well, as you know, he fired the Attorney General last week, Jody Raybould, and the reason why he fired her was because she refused to do whatever he wanted her to do. See, the Lavalin company was facing serious corruption charges involving up to $50 million in bribes. So with this company residing in Justin Trudeau's riding, he was worried about the votes, and he was worried about his friends, of course, and who knows, maybe he was getting some sort of payoff from them, which I wouldn't be surprised. Canadian politics is incredibly corrupt, not nearly as bad as American, but it's really bad here. I wish Canadians would wake up a little bit. Look at some of Jody Raybould's testimony today. It's quite interesting, the things that happened. And Andrew Scheer is calling for Justin Trudeau's resignation, which I highly doubt that'll happen. But hey, we all could hope. So take a look at the video and you can form your own opinion.
With my deputy. This same day, September 17th, I have my one-on-one meeting with the Prime Minister that I requested a couple of weeks ago. When I walked in, the clerk of the Privy Council was in attendance as well. While the meeting was not about the issue of SNC and DPAs, the Prime Minister raised the issue immediately. The Prime Minister asked me to help out, to find a solution here for SNC, citing that if there is no DPA, there would be many jobs lost and that SNC would move from Montreal. In response, I explained to him the law and what I have the ability to do and not do under the Director of Public Prosecutions Act around issuing directives or assuming conduct of prosecutions. I told him that I had done my due diligence and had made up my mind on SNC and that I was not going to interfere with the decision of the Director. In response, the Prime Minister reiterated his concerns. I then explained how this came about and that I had received a Section 13 note from the DPP earlier in September and that I had considered the matter very closely. I further stated that I was very clear on my role as the Attorney General and that I am not prepared to issue a directive in this case, that it would not be appropriate. The Prime Minister again cited the potential loss of jobs and SNC moving. Then, to my surprise, the clerk started to make the case for the need for a DPA. He said, quote, "There is a board meeting on Thursday, September the 20th, with stockholders," end quote. Quote again, "They will likely be moving to London if this happens, and there is an election in Quebec soon," end quote. At that point, the Prime Minister jumped in, stressing that there is an election in Quebec and that, quote, "I am an MP in Quebec, the member for Papineau," end quote. I was quite taken aback. My response, and I vividly remember this as well, was to ask the Prime Minister a direct question while looking him in the eye. I asked, quote, "Are you politically interfering with my role, my decision as the Attorney General? I would strongly advise against it," end quote. The Prime Minister said, "No, no, no, we just need to find a solution." The clerk then said that he spoke to my deputy and she said that I could speak to the director. I responded by saying no, I would not. That would be inappropriate. I further explained to the clerk and the Prime Minister that I had had a conversation with my deputy about options and what my position was on the matter. As a result, I agreed to and undertook to the Prime Minister that I would have a conversation with my deputy and the clerk, but that these conversations would not change my mind.
If it has not already done so, into the numerous examples of obstruction of justice the former Attorney General detailed in her testimony. The testimony Canadians have just heard from the former Attorney General, Jody Wilson-Raybould, tells the story of a Prime Minister who has lost the moral authority to govern. A Prime Minister who allows his partisan political motivations to overrule his duty to uphold the rule of law. A Prime Minister who doesn't know where the Liberal Party ends and where the Government of Canada begins. And a Prime Minister who has allowed a systemic culture of corruption to take root in his office and those of his most senior cabinet and public service colleagues. Like many of you, I listened carefully to the testimony of the former Attorney General. And like you, I was sickened and appalled by her story of inappropriate and frankly bordering on illegal pressure brought to bear on her by the highest officials of Justin Trudeau's government. All to let a Liberal-connected corporation off the hook on serious corruption charges. Before Ms. Wilson-Raybould's testimony, Canadians knew Justin Trudeau had engineered an unwanted, sustained, and coordinated attempt to get Ms. Wilson-Raybould to change her mind and to stop the criminal trial of snc-lavalin. Today, thanks to Ms. Wilson-Raybould's testimony, we now know just how intense those efforts were. 10 meetings and 10 phone calls involving 11 senior government officials, relentlessly targeting Ms. Wilson-Raybould over a 4-month period with the sole objective of bullying her into bending the law to benefit a well-connected corporation. The details are as shocking as they are corrupt. Multiple veiled threats to her job if she didn't bow to their demands. Urgings to consider the consequences on election results and shareholder value above judicial due process. And reminders from Justin Trudeau to his Attorney General about his own electoral prospects should she allow snc-lavalin's trial to proceed. As Ms. Wilson-Raybould has so clearly articulated, the people Canadians entrusted to protect the integrity of our very nation were instead only protecting themselves and their friends. Let me close by saying that we have entered the final stages of Mr. Trudeau's government. He can no longer, and in good standing, with a clear conscience, lead this nation. As we enter a critical budget debate and with other pressing matters of public interest in need of action, Mr. Trudeau's cabinet must now find a way forward without him. I urge them to do so. They have a duty to govern this nation, not help a disgraced Prime Minister hang on to power.